Over or under? What's going on, BLV football fans? It's Mitch back here with another week of NFL over-under picks. Picking every single over-under this 2023 NFL season. In this video, my Week 12 picks for the Sunday slate. I already made my picks for Thanksgiving and Black Friday, and I'm recording this after the Jets and Dolphins gave us our first loss for Week 12, 3-1 so far this week. So hopefully that trend continues with a successful week number 12 after a lackluster week number 11. Let's take a look at the record so far this year. 88, 73, and 3. It does not include the 3-1 record this week. Let's begin. But before we do, Gronk spike that like button. Let me know you're enjoying this content. Get in the comment section below and give me your best bet for the totals in week number 12. Let's go. First game, Cincinnati Bengals. No Joe Burrow. At home, taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The total is 35.5. A very low number. I kind of feel like this is probably going to go under. It's probably an under. I don't love it. I would prefer a 36, but I feel like it's an under. I think that the Bengals defense is talented. They understand that post Joe Burrow, they need to step up. I think that Big Lou will have these guys motivated to play one of the best games of their season, especially in their building where they've been a lot better this year. The Steelers' offense has gotten better. I think that it's better than it played last week against the Browns. I think they ran the ball better the last couple of weeks. Now their offensive coordinator is gone. I don't necessarily think that's going to fix much. I do think that Matt Canada is lousy and he doesn't exactly call the greatest plays in the world with great sequencing or creativity or flash, but I don't exactly think it's a 1 week fix. I think Kenny Pickett is a big issue. I think the Steelers' passing consistency is a big issue. I think that the Bengals can get a pass rush in this game. I think the Bengals have a pretty talented secondary. I think that the passing games on both sides are going to be lackluster. And that's what leads me to believe that it's going to be an under. I think both teams will find a bit of success running the ball. The Bengals, I think, are going to struggle on offense with a pretty weak offensive line taking on a good pass rush and no Joe Burrow to kind of make up for that lackluster offensive line. And I think that's going to frustrate Jamar Chase, who's without T. Higgins in this game. Yeah, they still have Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, but there's just, to me, without Joe Burrow, that's the guy that makes the whole operation go, and so do the books here with this number 35.5. I think this goes under, barely, but I'm going to go with an under. Feels like a 20-14, 17-16, 17-14 type of game. Next, 41.5 for the New Orleans Saints, the Atlanta Falcons. This one's tricky, man. I kind of feel like the over. It's that first inclination. Both teams coming off a bye. Derek Carr, maybe not exactly 100%, not exactly sure what's going on with the New Orleans quarterback situation and the vibes in terms of the locker room. Michael Thomas put on IR certainly does hurt, but Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara, Jawan Johnson, they still have plenty of playmakers there, and Atlanta's defense has been kind of fading. They have not been the same unit as of late. Atlanta's offense with Arthur Smith, I think, is going to have a week to prepare for this Saints defense. They are at home. I feel like Atlanta can maybe run the ball a little bit, and then without Marshawn Lattimore in the secondary expected not to play, I do believe that Drake London can have a better game than he would have. Kyle Pitts, I kind of feel like Atlanta will put up about 20 points. I feel like New Orleans will put up about 20 points. This feels like it's just going to go over. Something like 23-20, 24-21. It feels like a slight over in that range. I don't exactly view this as a 17-14, 20-17 type of game. I think both teams get to the 20s, especially in the environment in Atlanta, in a dome setting. No weather playing a factor here. I think both offenses have a decent game. I don't really view either defense as a juggernaut. I think the Saints is the better defense here, but I think they are a tad overrated. They don't have a great pass rush that I think can overwhelm Atlanta. And I do think that Arthur Smith has had success against this defense in the past. So I'm going to take the over 41.5. Next, 36.5 for the Panthers and the Titans. I'm going to go under. Will Levis has been kind of lousy as of late, and we know that all year Bryce Young has been lousy. We also know that Mike Vrabel is a defensive coach. He knows Frank Reich and his offense very well, having prepared for it within the division. Frank Reich was the Colts coach for a pretty long time there against Mike Vrabel. So I feel like there's familiarity between the coaching staffs. And Titans offensive line, pretty bad. I think that the Titans probably win by like a field goal or something like that, but I do think that it's going to be a lower scoring game. Both rookie quarterbacks going against pretty good front sevens here. So I'm going to take the under 36.5. Next, 42 for the Bucs and the Colts. This game kind of feels like a sneaky over to me, so that's going to be my move. I'm going to go over. I don't love it, but I'm going to go over. I do think that the Colts tend to play towards the over, although as of late, they haven't been as good on offense against New England, Carolina. The last couple of games has been a little weaker for Gardner Minshew. But I do think the Bucs defense can be had through the air, which to me, I think the Colts will understand that. I don't think they're going to try to force the run in this game. The Bucs are really good against the run. I think that's going to force the Colts to the air, and that might lead to actually more points in this game, or at least points in bunches. And then for the Bucs, I actually think their offense is playing pretty well. I don't think the point total that they had against the Niners was actually reflective of how well they played. So I'm going to go over 42. This also feels like an Atlanta-New Orleans game where it's in a dome. Feels like a 24-21 type of game. So I'm going to go over here. Next, 47.5 for the Jags and the Texans. I think the idea is over, but I don't know if I love it. I don't love Jacksonville's offense right now. I like how they played against Tennessee, but Tennessee is definitely susceptible through the air. We know this, and the pass rush of the Texans is playing a lot better. I do think that the Texans are going to move the ball on Jacksonville, but I'm not certain what I'm going to get from Jacksonville's offense. So ultimately, I'm going to go over because I think Doug Peterson is usually better in the second matchup against a divisional rival from what we've seen. I also feel like, in my mind, the Texans, like the game that I see in my mind is the Texans are going to get out in front early. They're going to really rip up the Jags secondary. And then I think Jacksonville is going to chase. And I think that's going to lead to this going over. So I kind of see like a 30-20, 23, 30, 27, 24, if it's a close game. Some sort of range like that. So I think the winner has to get to the high 20s, the low 30s, and I don't think this game will be a blowout. The first game, I believe, was 37-17, which would also be an over. So, yeah, I kind of feel like this is going to go over. I think it's going to be pretty close, but a little bit higher scoring, given the quarterbacks, given the offenses, probably being the strengths of these teams. I'm going to go over here. Next up, 36.5, Cleveland at the Broncos. Gotta go under. It's a Cleveland Browns game. Yeah, it's in Denver, and Cleveland's defense has played lesser on the road, but Denver is a conservative offense. They don't really push things. They don't really look to air the ball out. They are a defensive team with a good running game, and I don't think Denver's really going to be able to run the ball. I think they're going to have Russell Wilson make plays on scrambles. I think they're going to have Russell Wilson make plays off play action, but I think it's going to be few and far between. I think Cleveland can get a pass rush on Russ. I think they can take sacks, and Russ doesn't really turn the ball over either. And at the same time, Cleveland's going to play conservatively. They're going to run the ball. They're going to screen it. They're not really going to put DTR in harm's way, especially on the road here. So I feel like this is a definite under in my mind, even though it's a low number. Next, 45.5 Cardinals and Rams. The Rams have been a under team, I feel like, as of late. The Rams offense has been a little underwhelming. The Cardinals, though, with Kyler Murray, have been an over team. I think this is a really good number. For some reason, I like the under. I'm going to go under here. I feel like the Rams defense knows how to play Kyler Murray. I think they have a history of playing Kyler Murray pretty well. I also feel like the Rams offense, for whatever reason, has not been hitting on all cylinders as of late. Now, maybe I'm wrong about this one and it ends up being like a 27-20, 27-21, 27-23 type of game. I could see that, but I also feel like this could easily go under. The first game, the Rams held the Cardinals, I think, to like 7 points. So is Josh Dobbs and Kyler Murray really that big of a difference? I'm not exactly sure. Different venue for this one. But also the Rams really tried to run the ball in that game and weren't super successful throwing the ball in that game. So I think this goes under. Not confident. I think it goes under, though. That's going to be my pick. Next up, 48.5 for the Eagles and the Bills. I have to go over. I don't love taking overs in Eagles games just because of how they love to control the ball and eat the clock. And all of a sudden, it looks like every offense is scoring points each time they get the ball. But then the Eagles have the ball for a 7-minute drive and it kills your over. But I ultimately feel like the Bills push the pace here. The Bills push the Eagles to go over. I think the Eagles offense can push around the Bills front seven, run the ball. That opens up things in the passing game. And I also feel like Josh Allen's going to have a big day throwing the ball and moving around and making plays and creating. So I think this is a crazy game that goes back and forth, something like a 31-27 type of game. Next, 43.5. The Chiefs at the Raiders. The Raiders defense has been pretty good, but they're going to be without arguably the defensive player of the year in Max Crosby. He's doubtful for this game. The Raiders offense has been pretty lousy, but I'm still leaning towards the under. I think the Raiders defense is well coached. I don't think they'll get much of a pass rush, but we've seen what the Chiefs have done on offense in the second half. Absolutely nothing. And I don't think they'll really have to do anything in this game because the Raiders offense is not that good. The Raiders offense has Aiden O'Connell at quarterback against the Chiefs defense that is really, really good and really talented and has really good secondary players and a pretty good pass rush. I think it's going to be tough for the Raiders to score in general. So I think this is a grinded out game for the Chiefs where they just try to run the ball in the second half and go home. So I have the Chiefs winning, the Chiefs going under 43.5 against the Raiders. Next, 48 is the total. Ravens and the Chargers. I'm going to take the under. It's Sunday Night Football. It's a primetime game. Unders have been hitting at a historic rate. And the reason I like the under, I think the Chargers offense is overrated right now. I think the Ravens handle them pretty well. I think the Ravens will shock people in this game and actually decisively beat the Chargers. I think a lot of people think the Chargers are going to make this close because they always make games close and they lose a lot of one-score games. But I actually feel like Lamar and the Ravens are going to get out in front. And their defense is going to get home, sack Herbert, make plays on the ball. They've got a really talented secondary, really sound scheme. The way to beat the Ravens defense is running the ball this year, not throwing the ball. The Chargers can't run the ball. They can only throw the ball, and they only have one receiver to throw the ball to. I think that this is an under because I don't think the Ravens offense, although they could put up 30 on the Chargers without question, and they might, with the receivers being banged up, no Mark Andrews, I think it goes I think they score about 27, high 20s, and I think that the Chargers don't score enough to make this one competitive in the end. And then Monday Night Football 43, I'm going to take the under. I don't trust Justin Fields against Brian Flores' defensive scheme. Heavy blitz scheme. It's going to get to Fields, force some mistakes, force some turnovers. I also feel like the Bears defense has been sneaky good as of late. So I'm going to take the under here. Under 43 on Monday Night Football. Those are my picks for week number 12. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, spike the damn like button. If you want to know what I'm betting for week 12, head over to Patreon, link in the description. Starting at $3 a month, you can get all of my bets each week in the NFL. Thanks, guys, so much for watching. It's Mitch. We'll see you on Sunday. Peace.